My patients would always say, X, Y, and Z is gone. Everything's better, but my social life sucks. Why is everything I do when I socialize always filled with temptations or toxins? So we wanted to create a club that was fully temptation and toxin free, as we like to say. So when people come in, it feels like you're walking into a hotel lobby. We have a lounge and bar there. Even that first barrier of entry of feeling different and changing people's whole entire regimen, it feels natural.
Welcome back to the Fitt Insider podcast. I'm your host, Joe Veneri. Today I'm joined by Dr. Jonathan Leary, founder and CEO of Remedy Place, a social wellness club. In this episode, we discuss the company's temptation and toxin-free experience, a variety of health-focused services from functional medicine to breathwork classes and IV drips. Plus, we talk about Remedy's upcoming New York City location and future expansion plans. Let's get into it. Hi, Jonathan. Welcome to Fitt Insider. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm super excited for today.
Yeah, lots to talk about. You guys are making some moves at Remedy Place. So just to kick things off, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about what you're working on?
Yeah, my name is Dr. Jonathan Leary. I'm the owner and CEO of Remedy Place, the world's first social wellness club. So we're a whole entire club that's centered around holistic self-care, and it's made to enhance your health and your social life at the same time. So it's not like a spa where you go and isolate yourself in every room. Every single thing in the club, you do have the option to do by yourself if you'd like, but we'd actually rather you do it with others and do it as a substitution for what you normally do to socialize. So picture this is like where you'd have your new date spot, where you'd have your meetings, where you'd meet your buddies after work to unwind, where you'd have your birthday party or corporate outing. It's all centered around human connection, because not only is that the most important form of self-care, but it's also a really cool way to strengthen the relationships that you have and enhance your health and your social life at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. A super cool concept. And I think, just for someone like myself or anybody else who values their well-being or, for me, I don't drink, I don't, partake in really any drug use or certainly not like smoking or things like that, eat a healthy diet. And typically it's pretty hard to put those things together when you think about, hey, let's go meet up and, what are we getting for dinner? Are we going to a bar? What does that look like? So putting some of those things together, I've heard it described as maybe like Soho House meets like the spa or different kind of spins on that. When you say this experience, like bringing social and kind of some of these elements of self-care together, what types of treatments are offered? How does that membership shake out? And maybe even what is the experience when you walk through the door?
Yeah, we can start with that. And I think it's really just important to hit on why the social side is so important. My private practice before Remedy, I can't make somebody healthy, but what I can do is teach them how to make themselves healthy. It's our job as their healthcare provider to really guide them, support them, give them the plan. And over the 5 years of my practice, my patients would always say, Dr. Leary, X, Y, and Z is gone. I feel incredible. This is, everything's better, but my social life sucks. They're like, why is everything I do when I socialize always filled with temptations or toxins? So we wanted to create a club that was fully temptation and toxin free, as we like to say. So when people come in, it really feels, there's nothing white and sterile about it. It's nothing tranquil like a spa. It feels like you're walking into a hotel lobby, your favorite lounge and bar. And we have a lounge and bar there. And, there's a lot of psychology that went behind the design. And we like to say that we're designed to heal because it isn't too much of a juxtaposition. If I'm saying, hey, let's meet a Remedy for a drink instead of doing where we would normally go for a happy hour, when you walk in, it still feels like where you would normally go. So even that first barrier of entry of feeling different and changing people's whole entire regimen, it feels natural. So when you come in, with West Hollywood, we have open, and New York opens in 3 months, but we have everything from hyperbaric chambers. We have infrared sauna suites. We're the first ones to commercialize a breathwork ice bath class, which is one of the biggest hits in the club. So every 30 minutes, you book into a breathwork ice bath class. Kind of just same thing as like a Barry's or a Soul Cycle. Everyone gets their own tub. You do 11 minutes of breathwork before. You pick your song. You're coached through, and we hope that you hit the 6-minute club. So, we try to keep you in the 39-degree water for 6 minutes, which is the sweet spot. And people try, this whole adaptation training and learning how to adapt to hot and cold, and using the human connection to get you through it has been one of the biggest hits. And we do events all over the world, and it's the most bonding experience, but you also feel like an absolute superhuman. There's no better feeling than when you step out of that ice bath class. Then we have, like cryotherapy, we have lymphatic massage devices. And then we have all of your top alternative medicine doctors, from your acupuncturist with the Chinese medicine to our chiropractic, which we blend of chiropractic, physio, and Chinese medicine all within one treatment. This is the best manual work that you'll ever have on your body. Instead of going to 3 different doctors with 3 different philosophies, it's one doctor, one philosophy, but 3 treatment in one. In my private practice, it mostly focused on surgery prevention and chronic pain rehabilitation. But I had 100% success rate with any patient that I ever took on that said they had to get surgery. Not one of them has ever gotten surgery. So this has become a major part of Remedy because most people are in pain or have something going on. And I'm not lying when I mean like this is the best manual work that you'll ever have. Then we have functional medicine, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with. Are you?
Yep.
For those that who don't know, it's a series of different blood work and tests that give us a full blueprint of the entire body. So it'll tell us how to analyze every organ, every system, every deficiency, toxicity level, sensitivity. I mean, it goes on and on, but there's no more guessing anymore. You go to your medical doctor to do diagnostic blood work to see if you're sick or not. This is going to tell us how to make the body more efficient and how to get to the root cause of whatever's going on. And then we have a whole entire studio. So we do meditation classes, breathwork classes, sound bath classes, doctor instructed stretch mobility classes, educational classes. We also convert it to a cinema. So we call it watch and drip. So groups 4 or more when classes aren't in session, just like you book a table at a restaurant, you book the meditation room and you get an IV while watching a movie. Especially good for when people want to do NAD and it's a longer drip. Who wouldn't rather get an NAD drip while watching a movie instead of sitting at a movie theater and having popcorn and a soda? And then we have a whole entire bar and lounge. The bar and lounge, like I was saying earlier, temptation and toxin-free. So only things that are going to enhance your health. No alcohol, but we do have non-alcoholic spirits and plant-based tonics. And, we're getting really creative within that space of, takeovers. There's always activations and tastings and cool ways to bring in other founders and entrepreneurs to take over the bar, whether it's before and after a class, or if they want to sponsor a night, or we rent out the club and do events. Say it was a product launch or a book launch, or for some of our super VIPs that have full security teams that don't want to come in during the day, they'll rent out the club for them and their buddies, or people have rented out the club just to do a date night. And it's fun because, when you think of event spaces, it's usually hard to find a cool spot. If you go to a restaurant or a club, but this can be fully experiential, where you can have open treatments all night, or it can just be an event space. It's also big for companies like Nike. Nike will fly in their executives and do these kind of corporate outings. So instead of boozing a team with overindulging in drinks and these big dinners, they're coming in, they're doing social self-care, as we like to call it. And it's just a new way to bring people together. And especially with these corporate companies, you want to make your employees not only more bonded, but you want to make them perform better. So what better way to do that than to do a whole entire night of self-care and, cheering everyone through these ice bath classes. And the events have been a really big thing for us. And that's another thing. Not only do we have these in-club events, but our external events. Now we're traveling all over the world, and we like to say we can remedy any event. So, no matter what, whether it's a sporting event, whether it's a, film festival or art festival, you name it, everyone wants some wellness. We were just at the Cannes Film Festival for a week and a half, a week ago. And, people are partying like crazy. There's all these fancy events. And every morning and during the day, people are just we need remedies. So we were, on different yachts and just bringing all of our remedies across the board. And it's just cool to see the response at these events on how bad people want it. Even for Coachella, we did an event with Tao Group, and it was the craziest thing because on Sunday, it was DJ, there's people drinking, partying, and then there's other half where we were bringing our social wellness club as the other half. And across from the line for the bar was a line for our chiropractor. And all day, I'm not even kidding, the line for the chiropractor was longer than the line for the bar. And I was like, oh wow, like this is really becoming a priority for people. And the end goal is really to help with this whole entire movement and make people healthy and to eventually change healthcare. And it's wild to see how fast things are changing, because I've been working on Remedy for 10 years. And I saw the rise of people, preventative care and holistic care. But I think this pandemic and people understanding, like, oh wow, like we actually have to start taking care of ourselves. It's shifted this faster than I could have ever thought. And our club has been, I mean, we've opened a couple months before the pandemic, and we were thriving through the whole pandemic. And the past couple months and the start of this year, it is insane how busy we've been. So it's cool because I think it's really shifting people's perspective. And I love that people are looking at wellness at a whole different level and focusing on prevention and focusing on, pushing their self potential and what they can do.
Yeah, across the board. It's like no matter who I talk to, whether from healthcare to wellness to mindfulness to fitness, every single operator founder is saying like all these things are blurring together. Like it's no longer that like, oh, you're a gym and so you fitness, personal training, and that's it. Or you're a whatever healthcare practitioner or mindfulness. No, a consumer wants all of these various things and all these different points in their lifestyle. Like, hey, if I'm trying to be healthier and focus on well-being, like that's across every different sector of my life. So
Yeah.
someone, right, like Remedy yourself is like, oh, we're well suited to cater towards all of these things and provide these different services and treatments. And as you're talking about it, you kind of mentioned, maybe like execs flying in from Nike or other companies, or maybe, founders, entrepreneurs that are renting out the club, or maybe some celebrities who bring their security detail in, right?
Yeah.
So how do you think about like who that core customer is and how you expand or access to, all these different aspects of healthcare and wellness to all different types of people beyond maybe that elite or high class clientele?
Yeah. I mean, so the loaded question, but I think my private practice before, I started with just pro athletes. And then I quickly realized I'm like, why am I just working with the healthiest bodies in the world on a regular basis when the average person's far more sick and a lot more pain? So I opened up my practice to people in the music and film industry and then corporate level executives. And for 5 years, I got to just travel the world with cool people and cool families and save them from surgery. So I had this crazy network of people behind Remedy. And that's kind of what has opened up the doors for all of our clientele and all of our community. And, as a whole, the end goal is to change healthcare. So I didn't want to create another exclusive club that was cutting people out. So it was really important for me to find a way to make it inclusive, but also have an exclusive component. So every club, we cap the amount of memberships per club. And these are people that we feel as though are good representation of us, people that are, if we're trying to make movements, we need leaders in the space that are going to help go shift this movement. Because the best way to make any movement happen is we have to lead by example. So by getting these industry leaders and people that people really look up to that are cool and doing something really amazing in the world, it has really shifted our whole entire thing because we haven't really done any marketing. It's been all word of mouth. And every single event that we've done has been inbound. We haven't reached out to any of these people. And I think it's spreading because we've helped the right people, and I think the coolest thing about wellness in general is, and even what I found in my practice is when you make someone healthy, when you like actually fix something that they've been struggling with for a while, they want to pay that forward. So it's like this beautiful thing that happens in the club where everyone knows when they come into the club, it's their safe place. It's a place that they go because there's an amazing community. They know the team and they always leave feeling better than they walked in. And that's not our tagline. That's just what we're told every single day. So I think like not like this energetic exchange of people coming in and knowing that and then always leaving feeling better, like that ripples into every aspect of their life. It's the talking point of what they have like at dinner, and it might strengthen the relationship, it might spark an idea creativity wise. it just helps build better relationships. When you're feeling your best, everything else is in flow. So it's cool to see how this is just like naturally migrated. But when focusing on, like I said, I don't want this to be an exclusive club and only focus on the elite. And I think what's really important is the end goal of Remedy is to just be a free educational platform to teach people how to take care of themselves and then to fund research for alternative medicine. So the funding the alternative medicine research is really that you talk to any alternative medicine doctor, they know that their stuff works. They know that their patients see results, but we don't have big pharma funding research to prove what we're doing, and they're never going to do it. So I want Remedy Place to change alternative medicine by being able to show that there is science and that this stuff is real and this is the first line of intervention for most things. But the free education side is where we can help the masses. Not everyone needs to go to a fancy club. The foundational pillars of health, knowing how to move to be pain-free, knowing how to eat because anything you put in your body is either fueling or fighting disease, knowing how to take care of our mental health when the world's getting more and more chaotic. There's so many it's actually so simple, the keys to being healthy. And there's no quick fixes, and there's no shortcuts. And, there's so many gimmicks out there of like, oh, like, you don't need to change anything about your lifestyle. Just do these things. That's not how it works, and I think there's just not this reliable source because there's a lot of bullshit, and it's hard. I can't tell you the people that I work with that have endless supplies of money, that are well-traveled, and no matter who they are and the advice that they're getting, I'm like, how are my billionaire patients getting wrong advice when they're working with the best people in the world? So if we're trying to change healthcare or change it down to anyone in any state or any city, what do you think the advice that they're getting? When I grew up in Rhode Island in this small little town, and what my doctors used to tell me, it's scary, and when patients come to me that are actually trying to be healthy and they're following these protocols, and I'm like, oh my God, like that's not healthy and that's not okay. Or they've been sold on some type of gimmicky thing that they think's going to fix everything. And that kills me. It genuinely does. And I know that like within my private practice, I was maxed out and I couldn't see any more patients. I had the 6-month wait list. And one of my patients was like, John, how are you going to change healthcare seeing one patient at a time? And I'm not. You can't. And Remedy Place, the goal isn't to just open 1 million clubs. The clubs is like the byproduct. What I'm doing is I need to create a platform, and this platform, if everyone knows that if it's like stamped by the Remedy approval, or like no matter what they're dealing with, that they can trust that advice coming from Remedy, or there's like a how-to guide on how to really take control of your health. Because the problem with our healthcare system right now is we're fully dependent on our healthcare professionals and we're reactive when things go wrong. And what it needs to happen is we need to learn how to be independent and proactive. But the only way to do that is through education. So I think how we reach the masses and how we change healthcare is really through free education. We just really need to create the platform. And when you're a multi-billion-dollar company or like the size of Nike or, Equinox, we need to get to that caliber so that we can reach the masses and truly do that mission. And I feel so strongly about that.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Like there's a lot of moving parts there and like some contradictions, because I think about this as well. And I talk about it on the podcast a lot. It's like when it comes right down to it, the basics are not complicated. They're fairly simple and straightforward and oftentimes free. But
Yeah.
then all the things built around it are technologies and services and all these things that are expensive.
Yeah.
But and so then how do you bridge the gap between those two things and building a brand? Like you mentioned Equinox, like Equinox isn't, ashamed to say like, hey, we are for a very specific client that like lives a very specific lifestyle, and we can't be all things to all people. So like figuring out how to service like hundreds of dollars a month or thousands of dollars a year for a membership while bringing it like to a free education platform to the masses. Like it's a crazy ambitious, goal to be able to figure out. It sounds like, getting ready to open Club 2, right? Still putting those pieces together.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, but it's doable. And, right now the world has only seen one part of Remedy, but what they're going to see over the next year or two are all the different branches within this. And, as as we kind of grow this industry and finding ways to help. But the primary is this free education, but you're going to see a couple other avenues where Remedy Place, the social wellness club, is a luxury service and it does cater to a luxury clientele. But the byproducts and subcategories that will fall within Remedy Place are the things that are going to reach the masses and really help grow this industry.
Yeah, man. It's like you can't do that unless you have the platform. You can't do that unless you're driving sustainable revenue and able to grow the business. So all
Yeah.
those things have to come together. When you think about like the services that you do offer now, it's like a lot of the things I know personally, right? When I do breath work, and this kind of goes back to funding the research,
Yeah.
like breath work and ice baths and saunas. It's like anecdotally, there's evidence and there are starting to be some more thorough research and studies on how it's impacting people and like the actual kind of efficacy of doing it. Like,
Yeah.
how do you select like, hey, we do offer this, we don't offer that? And like, does it need to be science backed or does it need to be, like you said, hey, I walk out and I just know like, man, I feel better. And like maybe the research hasn't caught up to like the actual impact.
Yeah. I mean, this is really important. I think something that really sets us apart. My focus was this preventative care and, it really was surgery prevention. And my whole entire practice was self and preventative care, outside of the rehabilitation. So like I said, I've been working on Remedy for 10 years. It was my original practice idea. I worked on my business plan every Sunday through my doctorate. And I went to the bank after I graduated thinking, oh, this is easy. I had a 158-page business plan. I presented it and the woman kind of laughed at me and she was like, sir, you have $2,000 in the bank and X amount in student loan debt. How am I supposed to give you a loan? And I was like, that's exactly why I need a loan. But I didn't have any mentors at that time. But what that did do is it forced me to pivot. I opened up a concierge practice. In full transparency, it was a concierge practice because I couldn't afford to open up a brick and mortar practice. And it ended up being the best decision that I ever had. But those 5 years, I got to do 5 extra years of my own personal clinical evidence and research. Every single one of my patients and all of my success stories, I was testing every single factor and every variable and seeing how I could manipulate things to enhance and speed up the recovery process. So everything that's in Remedy is there because I know that it works through external research, but more so that I know through my own clinical evidence and my own research, and then using my functional medicine and blood work and different testing markers and just timelines. How fast I was able to get everyone to be healed, how many patients that I saved from surgery, all of the things that are in Remedy, I've been using with my patients this whole entire time. So we've seen these things, all these buzzwords and buzz treatments that have really blown up, which I love. I think with social media and all these things that are really allowing us to market so much more because, you can never see a billboard or a commercial for breath work or meditation, but now it's becoming real because the exposure is higher. But everything in the club's there because I know that it works and I've tested it, and I'll never put anything in Remedy that I haven't been able to do that with. There's a couple things that I've been exploring over the past 3 years that are like newer additions, but I want every single viewer to know, or anyone listening, it's like anytime that they come into Remedy, they don't have to worry about, hey, is this like a new flashy product? Does it work? No, I want them to know that if it's in Remedy, it's there because I know that it works and I've tested it out myself because, research is tricky. Who's funding it? Is it biased? There's so many variables that you can kind of make research look however you want it to, and to some extent, so it's scary. And especially within healthcare, there's so much out there that it's been clinically proven that is kind of BS. So, I know from like my character and making sure that I want what's best for patients, and because I truly want to leave this impact on healthcare, I would never put my name on something that I didn't know worked. And I feel really, really, I can't say enough how strongly I feel about that. So when you come in as a guest, you don't have to worry like, oh, is this actually going to work? It's like, it's there because we know it's going to work. And when you say, hey, here are my stressors, this is what I'm feeling, what's the best remedies for the day? Everything that we'll do for you, how everything will be put, the order, the timing, it will all be there because we know that that's the best process to maximize, the self-care for that day for you.
Yeah, all these things. It's even like, thinking about meditation and mindfulness. And you were saying like just what, 5, 8, 10 years ago, it would like wasn't even a thought, or people almost kind of made fun of it.
I was like, ooh,
Yeah. And I mean, even before that, the yoga was that thing. Like
yeah,
a yoga studio opening up or somebody doing yoga was like, kind of like, what is this person doing? Like, it's
yeah,
kind of weird. And now it's like, Lululemon, and on every corner there's a yoga studio. And more recently, it's been things like, the idea of recovery, and recovery, not just athletic performance, but like recovery everyday life, or just movement health. And now we're starting to see optimization, right, being such a big category in every different way. And I really feel like, you know, the idea of longevity and anti-aging is kind of moving into that next, almost like mindfulness mental health spot where like everybody is working on it or thinking about it or practicing it in some way or another. And you kind of connect the dots to, healthcare. Do you think there's a world, or, you know, in our lifetime, I guess it seems like such a massive problem when you think about like the reactive sick care industry.
yeah.
Can we really get to that place where it's like all of these things about holistic health and well-being and prevention and, taking care of yourself and prioritizing in that way, bridging that gap to healthcare? Or are we still going to be fighting this uphill battle where it is like this, if I do it, I have to pay out of pocket, and I'm, kind of exploring it on my own. I have to find a place like Remedy to do it and
Yeah,
patchwork my plan and protocol together. Do you think we get to a place where it's like more, frictionless and integrated?
1,000,000%. I mean, if you look at, like you said, like 8 years ago, not even 5 years ago with meditation or breath work, like everything that was considered woo, all even alternative medicine, like, oh, those aren't real doctors. There's a complete shift. And I've been saying this since I've been working on Remedy Places, this concept 10 years ago, that self-care is going to be the new workout. Working at, people don't realize that some of these people in LA and New York are training more than my pro athletes, and they're like, oh, I don't do any recovery. Working out still a stress in the body. We need to balance out that stress. And I think what we're realizing is that life is only getting more and more stressful. People are only getting more and more sick. So what we're currently doing isn't working. And how I describe self-care, because I try not to even use the word recovery or therapy, because people think there's a negative connotation. We don't need to wait for something to be broken to recover from. We don't need therapy to fix something. We need to be preventative. So what I say with self-care and how like it's like easily digestible for my patients is, I'm like, hey, we can't eliminate all the stress we put on our body. And our body's really resilient while we're young. And we can keep handling more and more, but eventually it starts working the opposite way. So when we look at all of the stressors we put on our body, whether it's our work, our relationships, our workouts, our us indulging, having fun, whether it's food or drinking or whatever people do, you need to find a way to counteract that. And if you can find ways to balance that out, that is going to help keep a nice flat baseline of keeping you healthy. If you can do more self-care than stress, that's where we can actually have a positive increase where we can raise our potential higher and higher. And I think it's wild because I've seen people don't, when I started my practice, people were still like, okay, like I want to keep my pain meds, or, I'm going to stay on this medication, or I'm just going to do the surgery because I was told. By the end of my practice, before I migrated into Remedy, everyone understood I don't want to be on medication if I don't have to be, and I don't want surgery if I don't have to be. So just the overall shift of their mentality was like, what do I have to do? And it wasn't, it wasn't pointing at me, what are you going to do for me? It was, what do I have to do? And I think people are understanding that they're in control, whether things happen. And even like the study of epigenetics and epigenome, like we might have things that are hereditary in our family, but our lifestyle turns things on or turns things off. And if your body's your number one asset and you control it, are you going to actually invest in it or not? And I think what I love seeing in these cities is people are investing in themselves. I think, as far as health insurance, I've lobbied for healthcare rights, and that's a tricky one. It's not easy. I don't get how this is still an issue as far as like, if we can make people healthy, or if we can save people from surgery or not have to make them on medication, for the first line of intervention for most things, they should not be surgery or drugs. If it's an emergency, don't come see me. Don't come to Remedy. That's not our job. We're there to make you healthy and to make sure that you stay healthy, and that's where surgery and medicine is amazing. We've made huge advancements for emergencies. But even if you have to go and get surgery, you have to be on medication. If you're not making these lifestyle changes or actually putting in the work, that's a huge problem, And I think, I don't know, I've just really seen a shift, and I saw this happening, before the pandemic. But just like how there's a gym on every single corner, as all these, recovery spots are opening up, everyone's like, "Are you worried?" I'm like, "No, are you kidding me?" I'm like, when 30 years ago, when there was a new gym in town, everyone's like, "Oh, you can't have another gym." Now there's a gym on every corner. There will be some type of self-care, preventative care, or recovery on every corner. Because at the end of the day, people want to feel better. And I think right now, it's not just about working out. You ask people like, "How do you take care of yourself?" They're like, "I work out every day." But then they're like, why do I not feel great? And why am I hitting plateaus? And why am I not seeing these results? And I'm like, because you're missing the most important thing. So I just feel so grateful, and I feel like so excited, because this is the start of a whole new industry, which I think is like the fitness and wellness industry is multi-trillion-dollar industry, and it's missing the most important thing in my eyes. And the bigger that this becomes and the more of a rise, like this is where more research can be done, that we can prove these things. And I think I was at this seminar maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm not a big social media guy, but I have, I have social media because I have to. But I understand that there's a lot of negative things that go hand in hand with social media and even mental health. But one of the best things that I've seen that I'm so proud of about social media is it's really given the rise to these alternative remedies and meditation. And, in America, we can put commercials and billboards of pharmaceutical sales. It's illegal to do this in some countries, but we can do it here. And it's like a gorgeous couple and they're all happy and on a beat. And it's like saying all these horrible things of the side effects. That's why everyone understands, like, oh, I should diagnose myself and I should be on that drug. Like people are doing that. Like they shouldn't be doing that. But, no one knew about alternative medicine because they never saw it. But now on like TikTok or Instagram, or YouTube, you can get tens or hundreds of millions of views. That allows people to be like, oh, wait, what are they doing? Oh, wait, they're saying they feel better. Oh, wait, there's options. And I think like even Remedy Place on our TikTok, we have over 100 million views. And I'm like, if we can show people like 100 million views on our ice baths, and I'm like, just making people think, or just seeing it on a repeated thing of like, oh, wait, there is more. I think people just don't know. And I think the coolest thing about social media is it really gave a platform that drove awareness. And this awareness is the biggest thing to make people ask questions. And these questions are what are really driving this whole new industry.
Yeah, it's been crazy to see, and I think TikTok. There's a lot of companies that we talk to, and a couple that we have invested in. It's like, they don't do paid acquisition. It's all organic growth, or majority of organic growth on TikTok. Just again, sharing some of these trends and practices and protocols. So yeah, the word is spreading quickly and efficiently on those platforms.
Yeah.
But kind of coming full circle as we get towards the end of the conversation, when you think about making headway down this path of increasing awareness and spreading the word and hopefully chipping away at, what is like the sick care industry. I know that you're expanding the club from, West Coast to New York,
Yeah.
just raised some funding, thinking about how you continue to chart that path forward. What does it look like in terms of, at least, not predicting the future, right? But in the near term, what are some of the priorities? What are you excited about as you kind of take that next step?
Yeah. I mean, I'm most excited about the near future of New York opening in 3 months. The first club turned out amazing and people love it, but it was a tester. It was like, does this concept work? Now that it's worked, New York is the next caliber of remedy. So when people walk in, they're going to be blown away. So I'm just excited to see. I'm excited for people to see the next level of remedy, and we're expanding that. We have 2 more clubs in the works outside of New York that we haven't announced yet. We'll do 2 to 3 clubs a year moving forward. We've been listening to all of our guests and requests from all over the world of, we're keeping track of people asking when we're coming to their city. The most requested cities we're coming to. And, I wish we could be in every city around the world right now, but we want to scale smart, but fast. And we're doing everything that we can to do that. We're entering some other industries where we're going to see some really cool collabs, but more from a real estate side, outside of our just standalone brick and mortar. We're getting into tech. There's some really big surprises there. We're trying to figure out ways that, since we can't be everywhere, it's like, how can we also help be everywhere or help other people get to this? Because I don't care how the end goal gets there, this free educational platform, or, who helps. I want to grow this industry. So we're finding ways to help outside of just our own brick and mortar, and, help grow other people and other companies or other industries that, also want these services. And if we can't put a club there, there's other ways. So just like we can remedy any event, we can remedy any company, we can remedy any building, and remedy any home. That's as much as I can really say about those things. But I want people to know, like, we're thinking really big, but we're staying focused. And most of the things that we're working on will be a big surprise, as far as they're not the normal health and wellness things that people are working on. And, I really want to stay on the top of this innovation. And we're also getting into like continuing education for doctors. If we want, all these alternative medicine doctor, any doctor has to do a certain amount of hours every year to keep their license. And we want to be the ones that are not only teaching the industry and our guests, but we want to be the ones teaching the doctors. Anything that can really help make this movement bigger. It's just about awareness, like I was saying. And I'm just trying to be as present and grateful every step of the way, because my dreams have already come true. I mean that in the least corny way. Like, Remedy Place coming to life, and the response and just the impact it's already made is already the biggest win. And I could not be more happy, or, like I say, like, just grateful. Like, it actually makes me emotional. Think of, like, this is just the starting point for us. And I'm having so much fun. It's controlled chaos. We have an amazing team. We have amazing doctors, and we have an amazing community. And like I said, this is just the beginning.
Yeah, I think you've done a great job of kind of laying the vision out there and teasing it a little bit. Certainly a lot to come. So maybe we'll wrap it up there by just telling folks where can they follow along, right? A lot kind of coming down the pipeline and on the roadmap. I'm sure
Yeah,
interested to check it out. So where would you point people?
I would say definitely our Instagram at Remedy Place, on our website. Within the next couple of weeks, we'll have a brand new website that is incredible. But if you put out your email on the email list or follow along on Instagram, we will be remedying every event. So outside of just the clubs opening in the cities, if there's a major event globally, Remedy Place will be there. So, like, we'd love to have you. Come to us with questions, come to us with ideas. We love to collaborate. We love to partner. If it's, businesses that want to help their employees, we do corporate memberships, we do corporate retreats, we do it all. So just send us a message, or if they want to reach out to me personally, on Instagram as well, just at Dr. Jonathan Leary. And we're here to entertain any conversations.
Yeah, for sure. I hope folks hit you up and take you up on that. And super grateful for you making a little bit of time to share it with us today.
Thanks, Joe.